YNW Melly. Mistrial.
Yeah.
He was facing the death penalty.
Crazy.
And the judge actually ruled you could do a 8-4 voting to give him the death penalty.
Really?
Which is even crazier to me. Yeah, you would think it'd be unanimous decision.
Yeah, I thought it always had to be unanimous.
No, but in this case, Florida.
Okay.
But when it went to the jury, it ended up being a mistrial. Now, his mom had posted that she found out that 9 of the members were going to vote against, basically non-guilty, and then 3 of them were going to vote guilty. And she was, basically celebrating, saying, oh, okay, if there is a retrial, he's probably going to win. But one of the jury members actually came forward and said, actually, that's not true. And it was a response to Melly's mother and said, in fact, there was only one woman that was the holdout for him being not guilty, and she had kind of been the holdout the entire time, and then she went at the last minute and convinced 2 other people to go along with her. And ultimately, but he said it was 9-3 for a guilty verdict. Have you ever interviewed Melly?
Yeah, so my relationship with Melly, I knew him because, 100K Track, who his manager, I met him super randomly in Atlanta in like 2017. I went to a studio session with the producer, Drummer Boy, and I met Track, who at the time was kind of like working for Kodak, doing the Sniper Gang clothing line and everything. And he told me, he's like, I got this artist, like, you should check him out. He got this really dope song called Murder on My Mind. He sends me the link. I end up checking it out, and I was amazed by it. I thought he was super talented, but he was still locked up at the time. So then when I had my deal with Atlantic, they say, do you have any artists that you're interested in signing? I say, yeah, check this song out. I play them Murder on My Mind. They loved it. They're like, let's get him out here ASAP. So they fly him and his family out to LA, and we do meetings with Atlantic and everything, trying to sign him. But then at some point, Atlantic realizes that Melly was already signed to 300 and basically was just using this as an opportunity to come hang out with me, get a free trip to LA, etc. Okay. And so Atlantic loses their fucking mind. They're so pissed off about this. And I think that they actually got reimbursed for the flights and the hotel and that kind of stuff. But yeah, and during that time period, I went to the studio with him a couple times, and he was a crazy dude. Like, I remember some random white girl just shows up at Atlantic at the APG building, for anybody who's ever been there, and this motherfucker's getting his dick sucked in the bathroom of this is a real corporate building with normal women working the desk and stuff, and the bathroom is like kind of near these women. And he got some thought that he just met on Instagram that's sucking his dick in the bathroom. And I just remember thinking, like, this is a wild boy right here. Like, a lot of rappers would not feel comfortable doing this, would want to be a little bit more low key about it. Now, I remember even during that time period that he was really tapping in with different gang members, like from LA and stuff. Like, he had no worries about like meeting up with different people that, in my opinion, from my perspective, are pretty dangerous, and he was fully embracing it. But I mean, I always had like a real cool relationship with him. You didn't necessarily, I interviewed him at one point real early on. I didn't feel like you got to see me and him having like a really friendly vibe, because he kind of came in with a very different energy about him. But there was one clip that went super viral from that interview where he was telling me about how he had his boys tattooed on his face, his like real homies, and it said Juvie and Sack Chaser on his face, and they were sitting right there while I was doing the interview. And then obviously these are the dudes who end up dead a couple of years later. But that being said, every time I've spoken to Melly on the phone since he's been locked up, it's been nothing.
Oh, you guys have spoken while he was in jail?
Yeah. A couple times as a result, like, I was hanging out with 100K Track and Drew and stuff. That's like his team. They're super close with him, and I was happy when I got on the phone with him. And I couldn't believe how positive he was after being in jail for a couple of years. But he was super excited to talk to me, and I think like with somebody like him, when you have a relationship with them before they're really popular, that a lot of times that kind of goes a long ways with them. But yeah, I mean, I'm really hoping that he does beat the case. I mean, I would have thought, I guess I have a limited understanding of the justice system, but I would have thought that him not being able to be convicted by the jury would have been enough. But I mean, I don't know if his odds are significantly worse this time around. It feels like there's got to be like a level of fatigue. Like, how are they even going to find jurors who aren't familiar with the details of this case at a certain point? I don't know, but I feel for him, and I have a good relationship with his mom and stuff. I had his mom on the podcast a few months back.
Okay.
And his little brother B Slime, and yeah, I don't know.
It's an ugly situation, man. I mean, in terms of the retrial, well, I mean, both sides know more about the case now and know more about the strategies that they'll both use. It's not going to be a surprise, and both sides could prepare to deal with a counteroffensive in these situations. It could go either way. There could be another mistrial.
Yeah.
And then it's really up to the prosecutors to decide whether they want to keep doing this trial or whether they want to lower the penalties to try to get a conviction or maybe even do a plea deal.
Right.
But he's been locked up for like 4 years. You would think after the mistrial he would at least get a bond.
Right.
But
yeah, I mean, it's kind of crazy when I think about it, because I have so many friends from that sort of like 2016, 2017 era who died like almost exclusively from guns or drugs. And then he's like the weird one that he hasn't been around us, or we haven't really got to see what would happen with his career for so many years now. But he's still here. He's just locked up. And I mean, the fact that they even made him wait 5 years before they would put him on trial is pretty insane. But I mean, when you think about the heights that he was starting to reach with his career at the moment that he got locked up, when I remember he had this Lyrical Lemonade video with Kanye, and he was really like, even his album that came out right before he got locked up was amazing. That was the last thing that I ever said to him before he got locked up. I just sent him a DM and I was like, yo, this album is incredible. He's like, oh, thanks, brother. It's good to hear from you. Boom. Next day, arrested for murder. I was just like, what the fuck? Like, because this is part of what makes me have some uneasiness about getting really close to the people that I interview, is that I've just lost so many of them, from Draco to X to Juice WRLD to Peep. It's just, you get close to these people and then they just get ripped away from you so consistently that it just becomes kind of hard to convince yourself in your mind to get close to them.